Live from NBC4, this is the Channel 4 News at 5.
President-elect Barack Obama, with the historic election now behind him, he is focusing on the White House and moving ahead with his transition, now just 76 days away. He will be sworn in as the 44th president of these United States. And he will have to confront a number of challenges, including 2 wars and this nation's economic crisis. Good evening, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Paul Moyer. This election ushers in a new era of political power for the Democrats, and President-elect Obama moving very quickly to begin filling out his new administration. Here are the numbers from the popular vote: 52% for Obama, 46% for McCain. Obama got 349 electoral votes. John McCain got 173. Let's go to reporter Steve Handelsman live tonight in the city of Chicago. Steve.
Thanks, and good evening. Barack Obama has not yet announced when he will be moving his organization from here in Chicago to Washington. But today, the man who's been on the move for the better part of a year and a half took it easy. No more campaigning. Back home in Chicago, Barack Obama went to the gym, sticking with what he'd said last night.
This is our moment. This is our time to put our people back to work and open doors of opportunity for our kids.
Time magazine today rushed out a special edition, and the world buzzed about what Obama did. A record number of votes cast. Obama won 52% and won at least 6 red states, including Virginia, Indiana, Colorado. A stunning step forward for African Americans. This was Howard University.
I shouted for joy.
Congressman John Lewis, beaten as a civil rights leader, blown away last night.
I just thought about all of the people that have passed this way, who suffered, who struggled, some who died on this road to gain the right to vote.
Republican Condoleezza Rice, blown away today.
One of the great things about representing this country is that it continues to surprise. It continues to renew itself.
With the economy in crisis and America fighting 2 wars, John McCain, heading off for some R&R, pledged to help Obama. So did Sarah Palin as she headed back to run Alaska.
I'm happy to do that because, again, we're all in this together.
Next for Obama and Vice President-elect Joe Biden is putting together their administration. They're expected to include Republicans. Democratic Congressman Rahm Emanuel of Chicago, a Clinton administration veteran, could be White House Chief of Staff. President Bush spoke to Obama.
I told the president-elect he can count on complete cooperation from my administration as he makes the transition to the White House.
Barack Obama on his way to the Oval Office. Transitions can be tricky, picking personnel and setting priorities, but those have been some of Barack Obama's strengths. From Chicago, I'm Steve Handelsman, Channel 4 News.
There was certainly no honeymoon for the new president-elect on Wall Street today. New round of bad economic news scared investors into a broad market retreat. All of the major indexes dropped more than 5 percentage points today. The Dow shed close to 500 points, giving back gains from yesterday's Election Day rally. The struggling economy may be President-elect Obama's #1 challenge. Channel 4's Doug Kriegel live in Sherman Oaks with that story. Doug.
That's right, Colleen. Clearly, job 1 for President-elect Obama is to deal with the major economic downturn. Here's the most common storefront sign all over town. It says, "For lease." The business bankruptcy rate in Southern California is the highest it's been in decades. Major chains and local stores shutting down everywhere. Credit card debt ballooning to dangerous levels. The unemployment rate in California is high and rising. It's already 2% worse than the national average.
But above all, I will never forget who this victory truly belongs to.
What must President-elect Barack Obama do to get the economy moving again?
Definitely, though, he needs to get to a point where we're putting money in the pockets of taxpayers, money back into the pockets of some of the middle-income people, the lower-income people, and putting us in a position where we can begin to buy things, where we can maybe have a Christmas after all.
The Obama options spelled out during the campaign include a $100 billion public works program, putting people back to work, strengthening bridges, building roads. If he extends unemployment benefits, that could strengthen the safety net under millions of families. Some experts say low interest rates will temper the rise in foreclosures.
Keep them at the low level that they're at now, because we don't want interest rates creeping up, because a lot of homes that are going into foreclosure are those adjustable rate mortgages.
What about Wall Street, where greed and lack of regulations created a global financial meltdown? What can Obama do differently?
Less greed, and we've got to have Wall Street controlled. Wall Street has not been controlled. They will let loose to do virtually anything they wanted to do. That's got to be tempered.
The two things needed to get the economy moving again are money and confidence. Somehow, Obama's got to get both of them going. Live in Sherman Oaks, Doug Kriegel, Channel 4 News.
Got it, Doug. Thank you. Arguably, it was the most controversial state issue on the ballot. You know, I'm talking about Proposition number 8, the constitutional amendment that eliminates the rights of same-sex couples to marry. It appears now, and there are still a few votes to be counted, but it looks like the measure has passed, with about 52.5% of the voters putting a stop to gay marriages in the state of California. Channel 4's Ted Chen, live in West Hollywood tonight, and he's got the rest of the story. Ted?
Paul, a spokesman for Yes on 8 said what Californians did yesterday was protect traditional marriage and reclaim a great tradition. But the No on 8 forces are vowing to keep fighting, and that includes a couple who thought they had made history in June, but are now wondering if history made a great big U-turn.
And so Robin and Diane, in the presence of these witnesses.
When Robin Tyler and Diane Olsen got married on live television in Beverly Hills last June, they thought they had reached their mountaintop. Same-sex marriage had been legalized in California, and after a 35-year relationship, they wanted to be one of the first to climb that peak.
I now pronounce you spouses for life.
But California's voters yesterday reached up and pulled them down. Proposition 8 was approved, and now LA County has stopped issuing same-sex marriage licenses, and thousands of marriages have been thrown into doubt. It's a bitter pill for Tyler and Olsen, who were one of the first gay couples to sue to be legally married and who thought they had won.
The fact that some people would like to undo our I do makes me very sad.
But they're not willing to stop fighting. Today, the couple announced another lawsuit to challenge Proposition 8.
I am still married to Diane today. I do not want the word domestic partnership. We want the word marriage.
For them, the toughest part was seeing African Americans who helped elect Barack Obama president vote so overwhelmingly against same-sex marriage and not see it as an issue of civil rights, as if Tyler and Olsen did not belong on the same mountaintop that Dr. Martin Luther King had fought to reach.
I am disappointed in the African American community, but hopeful that they will revisit it and see us also as a civil rights movement.
They're convinced they're all riding the same bus, and they too won't sit in the back. Now, scheduled at 6 p.m. today here near West Hollywood Park is a rally for the No on 8 forces, who say that the passage of Prop 8 is just a temporary defeat in the long march toward civil rights in America. Reporting live from West Hollywood, Ted Chen, Channel 4 News. Paul, calling back to you.
All right, Ted, and California voters had a number of other propositions to decide. In fact, let's take a look at some of those latest returns. First, let's go to Proposition 1A. It passed 52 to 48%. It authorizes the state to sell nearly $10 billion in bonds for a high-speed rail system that would eventually connect Southern and Northern California. Now, Proposition 2, that creates new standards for confining farm animals. There were a lot of emotional ads on both sides for this, and as you can see, this one passed by a wide margin, 63 to 37%.
Yeah, Colleen, also Proposition 4 would require parental notification for teen abortions. Now, this one's been on the ballot at least twice before and lost twice, and it did again. It failed with 52% of voters saying no and 48% of voters saying yes. Also, Proposition 5 was also rejected. It would have expanded rehabilitation programs for 84,000 drug offenders annually. It lost 60% to 40%.
And we now have a new supervisor for the Los Angeles County 2nd District, and more history being made here. State Senator Mark Ridley Thomas has become the first African-American man ever elected to the LA County Board of Supervisors. Ridley Thomas got more than 60% of the vote. He said he is confident he will work well with other supervisors, even though a majority of them backed his opponent, Bernard Parks. Today, Ridley Thomas said law enforcement issues will be at the top of his agenda.
That they want someone with whom they can work. They've been a part of what I've done. You heard the sheriff talk about the work I've done on dialogues, trying to bring the community and law enforcement together, particularly around controversial shootings, and there's an abundance of evidence of that. So they've been paying attention to the work that I've done over the years.
Ridley Thomas will replace Yvonne Burke on the LA County Board of Supervisors. She is retiring at the end of this year.
We continue tonight. She became an overnight star in the Republican Party. The question is, what now?
Sarah Palin talks more about her future in politics coming up next. Plus, here's Fritz.
Spectacular day today. However, we have a wind advisory and a frost advisory to talk about. Don't miss my live Weather Plus forecast just ahead.
And we have more election news to tell you about right now. While political experts debate the so-called Palin factor, today Sarah Palin addressed her political future. She was in Phoenix this morning and greeted her supporters in the lobby of the Arizona Biltmore Hotel. Palin says she is anxious to return to work as Alaska's governor and says she doesn't know what's going to happen in the year 2012. She also said she is sorry if she contributed to John McCain's loss last night.
If I cost John McCain even one vote, I am sorry about that, because John McCain, I believe, is the American hero. I had believed that it was his time.
Palin also said it's time for Americans to unite and work together. And as for running for national office in 2012, she says that's many, many years away.
Certainly is, but back to now. Here's a race that a lot of people were watching. Minnesota Senate race is headed for a recount. 571 votes separate the top two candidates here. Republican incumbent Norm Coleman and former comedian turned politician Democrat Al Franken. The slimness of Coleman's lead triggered a mandatory recount. You see, Minnesota law requires a recount anytime the margin between the top two candidates is less than 0.5%. Coleman got 42.03% of the votes. Franken, 42.01%. Therefore, you got your mandatory recount. Nearly 3 million votes were cast.
Let me be clear. Our goal is to ensure that every vote is properly counted. Let me be clear. This race is too close to call, and we do not yet know who won.
Minnesota Secretary of State said today the recount in this Senate race won't begin until the middle of this month at the earliest, and it'll probably stretch well into December.
Convicted Alaska Senator Ted Stevens is in the tightest race of his political career. The final outcome hinges on thousands of absentee ballots. The Republican holds a slim lead over the Democratic challenger, Mark Begich. More than 40,000 absentee ballots have yet to be counted, and that must happen in the next 10 days. A spokesperson says Stevens remains cautiously optimistic about keeping his Senate seat. The veteran Alaska politician was found guilty last month of accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gifts and services and then not disclosing them.
So it's the day after the night before and all this political stuff. You know, in the middle of it, not a bad day. Are they going to get better? We'll find out. Here's Fritz Coleman. Fritz.
Gorgeous. It's as if all the tension was swept from the air. It's a beautiful, comfortable day. We do have some wind and some frost in some communities to talk about. Let's go out to the San Fernando Valley wind bush. The first place we look, whenever there's a hint of a wind advisory, we always check for the accuracy of the wind advisory by checking the movement of the San Fernando Valley wind bush. Right now, it looks like an oil painting. No problem in the mountains looking northward there from Mulholland Drive. Now, let's talk about what we have. It's sort of a Santa Ana wind without the winds. Winds have been out of the northwest and north, and now they're going to shift around and become northeast to southwest. It will be what we'll call a moderate offshore flow. Dry, warm, downsloping air, warming some of the coastal spots up into the 80-degree range or slightly above. We do have a wind advisory until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, LA and Ventura County mountains, excluding the Santa Monica Range. We could see some gusts out of the northwest and north at about 50 miles an hour. In wind-protected spots in the high desert, Antelope Valley, Palmdale, and Lancaster, we're talking about a frost advisory. From 2 to 7 o'clock overnight tonight, we're looking at maybe 2 hours of temperatures sitting between 29 and 32 degrees. Succulent plants, temperature-sensitive plants ought to be brought indoors, and certainly start to bring your pets indoors. It's that time of year. So a cool night in wind-protected spots, a dry, warm offshore flow for a couple of days, kicking temperatures up into the mid and upper 80s before they start to head back down to more seasonal fall-like temperatures in the latter part of the 7-day outlook. Let's go to the overnight lows, mid and upper 40s to low 50s tonight, 52 downtown and 51 at Long Beach Airport. Highs tomorrow anywhere from 8 to 10 degrees warmer, 81 in Ontario, same for Temecula, Riverside, 79 San Bernardino, 67 in Apple Valley. Up in the Antelope Valley, where they're getting down there near freezing tonight, 70, 83 degrees inland Orange County. But look at this evidence of the offshore flow. 82 Oxnard and Ventura, which is warmer than you'll find in Thousand Oaks, Woodland Hills, Santa Clarita, or Northridge. Here's the Mathis Brothers 7-day outlook for L.A., Ventura, and Orange County. Warming toward Friday, warmest day everywhere when all the coast is going to go 80 plus, 85 downtown, the same temperatures you'll find in the valleys. Look at the Inland Empire, middle column, the valleys. They too will find Friday the warmest day. And what we're going to probably see is tapering off temperatures down toward the last 3 days of the 7-day outlook there as more fall-like temperatures. So it felt spectacular today.
Well, it's good because we had a political hangover, and that kind of helped relieve
That's
things.
what we're suffering from, huh?
I think that's what it is, or we're just tired. I don't know what it is. All right, an ancient remnant from the Parthenon was returned to Greece today in an agreement designed to improve relations between two of the world's great Christian denominations. The ancient marblehead is owned by the Vatican, and its return was arranged in meetings between the Pope and a Greek Orthodox Church leader. Now, technically, the piece is on loan, but the Vatican says the loan could be extended. Britain, which owns the largest concentration of Parthenon artifacts, says the deal will not affect its long-standing refusal to return other certain relics to Greece. Those artifacts, known as the Elgin marbles, were acquired in the 18th century during the Ottoman occupation of Greece. So there you go.
Coming up right here, it's a scary situation for children and their parents.
Yeah, it is, but you know what? That could change next to safe and effective treatment for children with a serious vision problem.
Coming up at 6, Prop 8, the same-sex marriage ban passes. So how did this couple get married today? Plus,
I kept screaming at him, please stop.
beaten at Pechanga Casino, what this man claims and who he says did it. Next at 6.
Author Michael Crichton, whose most famous books were turned into major Hollywood blockbusters, has died from cancer. Crichton's top-selling books included Jurassic Park, The Andromeda Strain, Rising Sun, and Disclosure. He was also co-creator of the NBC television hit ER. Director Steven Spielberg remembered him today as a gentle soul whose talent outscaled his own dinosaurs. Family members say Michael Crichton died in Los Angeles. He was 66 years old.
Kids with damaged corneas used to have very few options, but now a new procedure is actually able to give them back their sight. Dr. Bruce Hensel explains.
The way 4-year-old Abby Riggins plays tag with her brother, you'd never know she had a serious eye problem at birth.
Her eyes were different. They were glossy blue with nothing else to them.
Abby was born with severe glaucoma. Pressure in her eyes started to stretch her cornea.
Over time, the eyes became more cloudy and had the central scarring right in the middle.
Abby's vision was gradually obstructed right at a critical time in her brain's development.
You are not born with a sense of sight. You are born with an apparatus that is not quite functional, is becoming functional, but yet you have to learn how to use it.
For adults, corneal transplants are an option, but a child's immune system rejects them in weeks. Now we're implanting artificial corneas in kids.
It's only 3 millimeters in diameter. That's about the diameter of an eraser at the end of your pencil.
The implant has 2 parts. The most important, the clear optical piece that brings light and images to the eye.
So that little plastic device that is 3 millimeters in diameter has all of the optics in it to accept light rays and project them in the back of the eye.
Once it's implanted, it's permanent, and the brain starts learning to see.
Within a matter of a couple of weeks, they're seeing as well as that eyeball is ever going to see.
And with ongoing care from an eye specialist, kids like Abby will continue to get close-ups of the world. The research is being done at the University of Rochester Medical Center in Rochester, New York. That's the main corneal surgery place worldwide for these implants in children. But there are surgeons being trained here and all around the world to expand the availability of this vision-saving surgery. Early is important. Ask your doctor what's right for your child. I'm Dr. Bruce Hensel.
Sure was important for her. Thank you, Dr. Bruce. Critical day in court for Mike Corona.
Coming up next, we have this.
I'm Vicki Vargas. According to Don Heidel, Mike Corona promised him he could have anything he wanted if he would just help him get elected. More about that testimony coming up in a live report.
Tomorrow morning on Today in LA, when the big one hits, will you be prepared? What to do and not to do in the event of an earthquake. A preview of the largest drill in U.S. history. The Great Shakeout, tomorrow morning on Today in LA from 5 to 7 a.m.
The corruption trial of the man once known as America's Sheriff. Former Orange County Sheriff Mike Corona fighting to stay out of prison. And there was testimony today from a millionaire businessman. Good evening once again, everybody. I'm Paul Moyer.
And I'm Colleen Williams. That businessman is said to be a key government witness in the case against the former Sheriff Mike Corona. And he says Corona proposed laundering campaign donations soon after the two met. The former sheriff is accused of taking cash and bribes in exchange for favors. Let's go to Channel 4's Vicki Vargas. She is live in Santa Ana with more on this story today. Vicki.
And Colleen, when Don Heidel took the stand, he said he didn't know anything about election laws until he met both Mike Corona and George Jaramillo. He said he immediately reached out to friends and family for donations, agreeing to reimburse them in cash because cash was untraceable. According to Don Heidel, Mike Corona said he didn't need the job as sheriff, that he was running for office because there was a lot of money to be made in the sheriff's department. In court, Heidel testified he was the one who bankrolled Corona's 1998 campaign. The Newport Beach businessman says Corona promised if he won, they would own the sheriff's department and have 1,800 guns and 5,000 employees at their disposal. He said the trade-off was that he needed to funnel $30,000 to Corona's campaign for sheriff, and then, quote, I could have anything I want.
Mike, is this difficult, seeing Don Heidel on the stand?
You know better than to ask me a question.
Heidel testified Corona was half of a magical team, the preacher who adapted to his audience. He called George Jaramillo the pickpocket. Together, he testified, they convinced him to back Corona's run for office. Heidel says he offered his home and his boat for fundraisers, paying for all the costs. He also testified that he reimbursed more than 40 donors at $1,000 apiece after they wrote checks to the Mike Corona for Sheriff campaign.
I think that the real Mike Corona has been hidden from much of the public.
Heidel admitted he was trying to hide the source of the money from Shirley Grindell, who helped write laws on political contributions.
Corona, from the first day he got elected, started doing things that all his advisors advised him, don't hire Jaramillo, don't hire Don Heidel. They've got shady backgrounds.
Heidel also testified Corona vowed to make money by moving inmates out of the overcrowded county jail and into a private facility, which would be built by another campaign contributor. According to Don Heidel, Corona joked they would be called Ron's Happy Homes. And that would be after one of another contributors known as Ron Cedillo. Heidel also told the jury how he has pled guilty to one count of filing a false tax return and almost immediately began cooperating with the government on this case. Live in Santa Ana, I'm Vicki Vargas, Channel 4 News.
All right, Vicki, a Missouri woman charged in the so-called MySpace suicide case is asking now for a non-jury trial in federal court. Prosecutors say that Lori Drew pretended to be a teenage boy on the popular social networking site and sent messages posing as the boy to a young girl who later hanged herself. One of those messages allegedly said the world would be a better place without the teenage girl. The federal case is thought to be the first instance of cyberbullying to be prosecuted in the United States. The judge indicated that he'll rule on the request for a non-jury trial within the next week.
Back now to the election. We have a look at some of the other propositions on the California ballot this November. First, Proposition 11, that is the redistricting initiative to create a citizens commission that would draw the political districts. Now, this is still a very, very close one. 51% say yes, 49% say no. This one has still not been called, still too close. Prop 12 passed, authorizing $900 million in bonds For home loans for California veterans, this one won by 63 to 37%.
Also, Prop 6 was rejected. It would have required spending at least $965 million a year on programs for police, prosecutors, jails, and juvenile lockups. It lost 69 to 31%. Also, Prop 7 was also defeated, 64% to 35%. The number's right there. This prop would have required all electric utility companies, private and public, to generate at least 20% of the electricity they sell from renewable sources or resources by 2010, ending in 50% by the year 2025.
As we've been telling you, the voters decided on several key propositions and ballot measures last night. Channel 4's Conan Nolan live in our newsroom right now with more on the winners and the losers and what this means for taxpayers. Conan.
Well, Colleen, for some it was an early Christmas. For example, if you're a member of an engineers union that builds transit projects, last night might guarantee you work over the next 30 years. But for others, it was not a good night. Among the winners on Election Day, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, Proposition 11, which takes away the power of state lawmakers to draw their own district boundaries, was his ballot priority. It appears to have squeezed out a narrow victory.
And that's what we have done. We have focused on that proposition.
A big loser last night, oil billionaire T. Boone Pickens, who sponsored Proposition 10, a $5 billion bond measure that some believe would have benefited his natural gas fueling company. Liberal billionaire George Soros also lost. He spent $1.5 million on Proposition 5, which would have reduced jail time for drug offenders. L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa was a winner. The sales tax hike for L.A. County means he'll be able to build his subway to the sea, tying downtown to Santa Monica, which leads to the debate over how the taxpayers fared.
The people spoke, and those people came out and they said, we're willing to pay for the following things.
Such as Measure R, which will cost every man, woman, and child in Los Angeles County an estimated $25 a year. And that wasn't the only ballot box budgeting taking place. The high-speed rail bond is estimated to cost close to $20 billion over the next 30 years. A children's hospital bond, $2 billion. Veterans benefits, $1.8 billion. Like borrowing off a credit card, it will all need to be repaid in installments.
For example, if with Proposition 1A, which is the rail bond, you have to pay $647 million a year to pay off that bond. That's $647 million you're not going to have for health care and education and the other services of the state.
And although bond measures are marketed by saying they won't raise taxes, in reality they could, with the state already paying billions each year to pay off bonds approved in previous elections prior to yesterday's spending at the ballot box. I'm Conan Nolan, Channel 4 News.
All right, Conan. Voter apathy, not anymore. It was an election that sparked new interest in politics.
Coming up next, this.
I'm Kerry Berglund at Inglewood High School. Last night, the country voted for change. So how will it change things here? We'll talk to students coming up in a live report.
Lakers talk about last night's presidential election, a wild scene to show you from college football, and a high school football play you simply will not believe. You do not want to miss it.
Going to take a little basketball and throw in some politics, and here's Fred.
All right, last night's historic presidential victory by Barack Obama has had a profound effect on many people, including several members of the Lakers. Many have been quite outspoken about their support for the Democratic senator. Here's Mario Solis.
This year's passionate interest in the presidential election did not spare the oftentimes secluded world of sports.
Took a survey of the team. 90% of the kids voted. It was kind of nice to see.
I'm excited to see what Barack can come into office and do now.
The enthusiasm was not lessened by the likelihood of a tax increase to almost 40%. Under Obama's new tax plan, Kobe Bryant will pay an additional $1.6 million next year.
We're blessed to make the salaries that we do, so I hope that we can provide some kind of financial help for a lot of families struggling to make it.
Players seem to be inspired by the promise of change and the philosophy of hope.
We're closer to getting to that point where we really can tell our kids you can be anything you want to be, no matter who you are or where you're from.
Fisher, however, emphasizes it's not about race, it's about America.
You know, the one thing about President-elect Obama is, he's the president of the United States. He's not the president of black people or president of colored people or president of just the minorities. He's the president of the United States. So we all still have a responsibility, no matter who we are.
Mario Solis, Channel 4 Sports.
All right, now how about this? During last Sunday's Bills-Jets game in Buffalo, 37 people arrested for breaking the law, but there was one incident that really stood out. It involved a woman and her boyfriend, and they were having sex in a stall of a women's bathroom. They were each charged with trespassing and disorderly conduct, but this wasn't the first time it's happened in Buffalo. Back in '98, the couple was caught having sex in the stands. And all this time, I never knew the Bills were such high scorers. Now check this out from college football, where Buffalo and Miami of Ohio played out the electoral map on the field. Each team received an NCAA exemption to wear all blue and red uniforms. So which team won out? Well, just like Obama, the blue did, as Buffalo's James Starks broke free from party lines, weaved his way across the aisle 62 yards for the touchdown. The blue won in a landslide 37-17. Here's something you have to see from a high school game in Georgia. Now watch closely. Player from Lassiter High couldn't make the grab in the back of the end zone, so he flipped the ball to his teammate for the touchdown. Totally legal and totally incredible. Another look at one of the smartest plays you'll ever see. Lassiter High is known as the Trojans, and they already wear the same colors. So after seeing this play, perhaps Pete Carroll should give that kid a call. That's a great play. This Sunday on The Challenge, our big-name guest will be Dodger owner Frank McCourt. About an hour ago, I sat down with Frank and asked him the one question on the mind of every fan. Will the team re-sign Manny Ramirez?
We're not going to be afraid to pay Manny. It's going to be a question of the length of the contract, I think, and we'll see how that goes. And we can only control what we can control, which is sort of our half of the equation. And that's why I always say, to a large extent, whether Manny comes back or not is more in his control than it is ours.
Considering Manny is 36 years old, we wanted to ask how long of a contract should the Dodgers offer. Go to our website, NBCLosAngeles.com, click on the sports link, and vote in our online poll. Paul and Colleen, back to you.
All right, Fred, thank you. It was an historic election, but will it influence the next generation of voters?
Coming up next, this.
I'm Kerry Berglund, live at Inglewood High School, where the kids here aren't old enough to vote, but they're old enough to connect the dots and perhaps change what they think of each other. That story coming up.
All right, Kerry, just time enough for another look outside, and there you go. Fritz is standing by to update the forecast coming up. Young voters between the ages of 18 and 30 came out in record numbers for yesterday's presidential election, and according to exit poll data, they went for Obama 68% to 30% over John McCain. And there is a next generation of potential voters, even younger than that. High school kids, perhaps inspired by the Obama victory. Kerry Berglund, live in Inglewood tonight, looking into that. Kerry.
Those high school kids, their parents heard and responded to Obama's message of unity, but will the high school kids here at Inglewood High School respond to that message? Well, perhaps eventually. At first glance, it looks like just another school day, another Wednesday that begins with the morning bell and ends with homework and the walk home. But this Wednesday is different. The kids here at Inglewood High School can't possibly comprehend how different, but they are old enough to know that history was made last night.
It's a change that's coming for us, the economy, the war, the healthcare and everything. And people, us students, will realize that, wow, we can be united as one. Now, younger kids see that anything's possible because they just seen a black African-American man become president.
It will become more clear to them as Wednesdays come and go that the vote their parents cast made a change happen in this country only because it was combined with the votes of most of their classmates' parents.
It's going to change. I feel that because everybody, like in first period, we were talking about that and everybody said that it was going to change. That it was going to change everybody's point of view and everybody's ideas.
Some kids that weren't talking are getting along because they all believe, Obama. Like, they've been sharing facts today about Obama.
At a school that has made news with tensions between the Black and Latino students, maybe on this Wednesday, they will begin to look at each other the way their new president wants them to. Maybe today, they will begin to see the we more than the us and them.
Hopefully the black and brown could come together now, like stop all the violence and stuff.
Do you think that'll help change the way you guys think about each other in high school?
I don't know. It probably just like I don't think so, though, just to tell the truth, sir.
Obama! Change happened on the national stage last night, but when it will trickle down to the often impenetrable high school stage remains to be seen.
It will get better.
Yeah, it will
get better.
Obama could make a change.
So it begins with kids thinking about and talking about what they agree on so they can learn to stop disagreeing. We're live tonight in Inglewood. I'm Kerry Berglund, Channel 4 News. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Kerry, thank you. We're going to go back to Fritz right now with a quick look at the weather. Fritz.
Yes, ma'am. It's about, a moderate offshore flow. We do have a wind advisory in effect for the mountains of L.A. County till 4 in the morning. Gusts could go 50 miles an hour in the canyons and passes, those north-south facing canyons and passes. We also have a frost advisory for the Antelope Valley. Wind-protected spots have a frost advisory between 2 and 7 a.m. That means for a period of 2 hours or more, temperatures will drop to between 29 and 32 degrees. Time of year to start letting your pets stay indoors. Take care of those sensitive plants outside. Here's looking out the 7-day outlook for L.A., Ventura, and Orange County. We're warming up toward Friday. Friday, the warmest day when we're going 80-plus at the beaches with the offshore flow. Coast is often as warm as we find in the valleys. 85 downtown and 85 in the valleys as well. And we'll cool temperatures down into the 70s again the last 3 days of the 7-day outlook. Here's looking out the Inland Empire. We're going warm to Friday, and we're tapering off inland as well. Beautiful day today, and several more to come. Have a great night. We'll see you at 6.
Thanks, sir. We know it makes it easier to fill up, but there is another benefit to lower gas prices.
Coming up next right here, travel deals that you can grab right now for the holidays. Travel experts say an airfare war is driving down ticket prices just in time for the holidays. Northwest Airlines started slashing fares, then other airlines cut their prices as well. The experts say bargain deals are the result of lower jet fuel costs and competition, but they say if you're considering traveling over the holidays, don't wait too long to book that flight. For some destinations, the savings could amount to several $100s a ticket.
Let's go.
Get on it.
Where are we going? I don't know. Let's just go.
Someplace snowy. How does that
There
sound?
you go. Sounds good to me. Thank you for watching the Channel 4 News here at 5 and 5:30.
Stay where you are. Anna Garcia is standing by with a look at what's new on the Channel 4 News at 6. Anna.
Colleen and Paul, Proposition 8, the ban on same-sex marriage. By now you know it passed. Coming up only at 6, 2 women who defied odds, and they tied the knot today in L.A. County.
We realized that it was really important and needed to be done right now.
So how did they get a marriage license with the ban in effect? Also at 6, long lines for Obama keepsakes see the rush at the newsstands across Southern California. And beam me up, Scotty, the much talked about election hologram. Did you see it tonight? We can show you how CNN did it. And the Latino vote, why Barack Obama couldn't have won the White House without their help. Local reaction just 3 minutes away. It's next at 6.
Live from NBC4, this is the Channel 4 News at 6.
We all just get along as equal, as one nation, no matter what color the skin.
Members of LA's African American community joining people all across the country in celebrating the election of Barack Obama. And you're looking live right now in West Hollywood, where there's no celebration tonight, but a planned protest over the apparent passage of the gay marriage ban. Good evening. I'm Chuck Henry.
And I'm Anna Garcia. It is the day after the election. President-elect Barack Obama spent the day working on his transition. His administration will have hundreds of jobs to fill and only 10 weeks to do it. Here's a look at the electoral map. Obama has 349 electoral votes. McCain has 173. 270 were needed to win. We still don't know who gets North Carolina's 15 electoral votes, although right now Obama is slightly ahead. Senator Obama won 52% of the vote to Senator McCain's 46%.
The election of Barack Obama is a dream come true for many African Americans and many of those old enough to remember the civil rights era. They're simply finding it just hard to believe. Channel 4's Fernell Chapman is live now in South Los Angeles with that part of our coverage. Fernell.
Well, Chuck, this was the scene of an election celebration here in South Los Angeles this afternoon, a celebration that actually began last night. It was a night filled with emotion, a time of historical significance, especially for African Americans. Barack Obama strolled onto a stage as the next president of the United States, the first black man to become the elected leader of the free world.
All I could do was just cry. Just cry.
Tears of joy.
Tears of joy.
This has meaning for not just black people in America, but for all people in America.
Things are changing. America is changing to an extent. The face of America is changing. The thinking of America is changing.
The politics of race is on the way out, and we have a new politics of dignity and respect and equality for all people.
In South LA, a community block party was held to celebrate Obama's election. It was a show of pride by some of LA's less fortunate, people for whom Obama has apparently ignited a new spark of hope.
It's time for a change, and I think we're overdue for that.
I thought I would never live to see a day that we would get a black American president.
It's not just a black thing, it's a everything.
I'm just blessed to be able to be alive to see such a thing transpire. It's just wonderful.
There was lots of free food in addition to entertainment. It was all sponsored by Dr. James Mays, who operates a neighborhood clinic in a community ravaged by unemployment, violence, and drugs.
This is a moment of American history that's as great as the first shot fired in the Civil War, and as great as Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. But this is a day of rejoicing for all America's citizens.
Now, many African American seniors remember a time when blacks weren't even allowed to vote. But now, an African American family will soon occupy the White House. Live in South Los Angeles, I'm Fernell Chapman, Channel 4 News.
Barack Obama owes his election in part to a strong showing in the Hispanic community. Latinos turned out in force to help elect him the 44th president of the United States. Latino voters in Los Angeles went to the polls in large numbers, but the California vote for Obama was not really ever in doubt. Experts say it's the Latinos in Florida, Colorado, and New Mexico that helped Obama win these key swing states. CNN's national exit poll found that 66% of Latinos voted for Barack Obama. 32% voted for John McCain. Hispanics are 15% of the U.S. population and 9% of the electorate.
I think it's fantastic that the Latino community had a huge voice in this election. We were able to make a difference. Our voices were heard.
Now they know that Latinos count.
And in Florida, where the Cuban community has traditionally supported Republicans, Obama won 57% of the Latino vote.
Last night, people who took to the streets in celebration, but tonight there's a much different mood out in the West Hollywood area, where San Vicente Boulevard is now shut down between Melrose Avenue and Santa Monica Boulevard as opponents of Proposition 8 are gathering, and they're going to try to figure out what they should do next. The constitutional amendment eliminating same-sex couple marriages has passed with 52.5% voting yes. Today, supporters of Prop 8 said that they believe passage of the measure invalidates all of California's same-sex marriages. But the state's attorney general says not so fast, and our Gordon Tokamatsu now is live in West Hollywood with more for us. Gordon.
Well, Chuck, once again, the rules of the game have changed for California's same-sex couples. Still, many of them attempted to get married today in this state, as you'll see, with mixed results.
It was a little bit of a struggle getting the license.
Tonya Pace and Jacqueline Hicks this afternoon at the county registrar's office in Norwalk. Married, they told us, with paperwork and recognition by the state of California. Or are they?
After some persistence, we got the ultimate decision that said they're able to process us.
In Sacramento at City Hall this morning, Jake Rowe attempted to marry James Eslick, but someone from the clerk's office stopped the wedding.
Even though we didn't have a ceremony or a license or a piece of paper, I love Jake with all of my heart.
If you're a little confused, you're not alone. Clerks at county and city offices across the state are grappling with specifics about what exactly Proposition 8 has changed. Many are suspending same-sex marriages right away, pending official word from the state. Attorney General Jerry Brown says that's probably a good idea.
Initiatives that don't specify another date become effective the day after the election.
A spokesman at LA's Norwalk office says the initiative's purpose to essentially outlaw same-sex marriage doesn't go into effect until the vote is certified. We're told at least 3 couples got in under the wire at the chapel late this morning. But state officials are not willing to say such unions are in fact legal. Brown says the only marriages his office will protect are those that happened after the state Supreme Court took action to allow them and before last night.
The measure that was written by the Yes on 8 people was very simple, one sentence. It did not say the measure was retroactive.
And as far as we were concerned, the Constitution says we could get married.
Legal experts predict a virtual flood of lawsuits in the coming weeks, from couples to legal foundations to civil rights groups. Almost without doubt, they tell us, one of those cases will reach the Supreme Court again, and the process will start all over.
And we are back here live on San Vicente Boulevard in West Hollywood. It is closed down here for a Prop 8 rally, a no on Prop 8 rally. I can tell you as I step out of the shot here, we had a bit of an incident here just a few minutes before we went on the air. We had a deputy actually hit by a pickup truck here on San Vicente. He appears to be okay, obviously sitting up and talking with his compatriots here. Looks like some paramedics from LA County have arrived to administer some help. But at this point, it looks as if the officer is going to be okay. It's not clear exactly what the extent of his injuries are, but he is receiving medical aid at this point. You know, obviously a very dangerous situation, very dark here on San Vicente Boulevard. Shut down, as we said, between Santa Monica Boulevard and Melrose for the next couple of hours for this No on Prop 8 rally. And, you know, if there's anything to develop here that we can report, we will certainly keep you updated. That's the latest from here in West Hollywood. I'm Gordon Tokumatsu. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Gordon. Let's take a look now at a few other measures on the ballot that were decided today. Late this afternoon, the Secretary of State declared that Proposition 4 had been defeated. It would have required parental notification for minors to have an abortion. Measure R, the money to fund public transportation projects in LA County, appears to have won the two-thirds majority needed for passage, but its margin is razor thin, and thousands of mail-in and provisional ballots have not yet been counted. Proposition 11, the redistricting measure, appears to have passed, also by a very thin margin, 50.6% yes to 49.4% no.
Los Angeles, last night, the Los Angeles Unified School District scored a huge victory with the passage of Measure Q. Now, that measure will provide $7 billion in bonds to repair and upgrade existing schools. The voters approved the measure overwhelmingly. It won with more than 68% of the vote. Channel 4's Kim Baldonado has been following this story.
9th Street Elementary in downtown Los Angeles is in desperate need of upgrades. The entire school consists of portable classrooms, essentially trailers, which are nearly 40 years old. There is no cafeteria, only a shack from which food is distributed, and outdoor benches which border the parking lot. The school does not have a room larger than a classroom, so all parent meetings and school assemblies must be held outdoors. But LAUSD officials say Measure Q will change things
because
here.
now 9th Street Elementary School, where 50% of the students who are homeless, many of them come from the Garment District, will not look like this because of Measure Q.
LAUSD Superintendent David Brewer joined other district officials today in thanking voters who overwhelmingly passed Measure Q with nearly 69% of the vote.
Thank you for supporting our vision that LAUSD could be the leader in urban reform.
The $7 billion bond will pay for repairs, upgrades, and new technology for some of the district's oldest schools.
As you look around at this school, you can see what they've had to endure. We're going to change that along with many of our schools.
Strong supporters of Measure Q included the LA Chamber of Commerce and labor unions, which stand to benefit from construction contracts.
You know, this is kind of victory for labor. It's a victory for business. It's a victory for kids.
It's now up to the school board to come up with a list of priorities. In downtown Los Angeles, Kim Baldonado, Channel 4 News.
Did you snag a piece of history?
Yeah, coming up, it's the rush at newsstands for the headline that was heard around the world.
I'm Mary Parks in the Inland Empire, where a scuffle between a casino patron and security has a very serious outcome. The story coming up.
Not so great on Wall Street today as the roller coaster continued today. Fears of a recession eased yesterday's election rally. The Dow slid a whopping 486 points. The Nasdaq declined 98, and the S&P 500 ended up 53 points lower on the day. Nationwide, voters turned out in record numbers to cast their ballots in yesterday's election. Some experts estimate as many as 133 million people went to the polls. Here in Los Angeles County, more than 82% of all the eligible voters actually cast ballots. That's the highest number since 1968, when 86% voted. Nationally, an estimated 62.5% of registered voters went to the polls. That's the most since 1964.
Lots of people wanted a piece of last night's historic moment, and so they lined up to buy newspapers as keepsakes. And after a while, in some places, those papers were hard to find. People lined up at this newsstand in Studio City hoping to pick up an edition of the Los Angeles Times. Across the country, leading newspapers were forced to print extra copies just to keep up with the demand. Some of the people who lined up say that they wanted the paper to save for their children or their grandchildren.
A lot of very fancy electronics last night. Did you see the one on CNN?
No, I was here.
It is our Gee Whiz video of the day. Still ahead, how they pulled off the election hologram.
I was looking at your
Well,
map,
you'll get
Chuck.
to see it coming up here.
All right. Also ahead, beaten while gambling at Pechanga Casino. A 70-year-old man and his wife share what happened on their not-so-happy wedding anniversary.
Gorgeous day today, but we have a wind advisory and a frost advisory to talk about in my live Weather Plus forecast just ahead.
All right, here's Fritz with the fantastic weather.
Yeah, so Chuck, well, it's been about the wind since we had our rain about 18 hours ago or so, or 24 hours ago. And it was a northwest wind throughout most of the day today, shifting to a north wind and now becoming a northeast to southwest wind. That's a dry, warm, offshore flow. Wind advisory is in effect until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. LA and Ventura County mountains, excluding the Santa Monica range, gusts could go 50 miles an hour. And with the dryness and with the offshore flow, we could see coastal temperatures go 80 plus. However, in wind-protected spots in the Antelope Valley, it will be cold enough to earn a frost advisory between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m., at least 2 hours, where temperatures go between 29 and 32 degrees. Be sure to let your pets come indoors. A little early in the year to be worrying about your flora and fauna, but bring the pets indoors anyway. All right, here's what we have going on. We're going to have a cool night. We'll have a cool several nights, actually. And we're going to have daytime highs tomorrow because of the offshore flow, get anywhere from 8 to 12 degrees warmer. And we're going to probably peak on Friday and then bring temperatures back down to more normal areas by the latter part of the 7-day outlook. Overnight tonight, mid and upper 40s to low 50s. 52 downtown, 51 at Long Beach. Highs tomorrow, nice and warm, upper 70s to low 80s inland, Temecula, Riverside, 81, same for Ontario. 56 degrees in the mountains and 81 degrees in the low desert. We'll be 80 in Burbank. Along the coast, the southern coastal spots like Newport and Huntington won't feel much of the offshore flow at 74, but look at this, 80 plus north of Rancho Palos Verdes, 81 degrees at Woodland Hills. Here's the 7-day outlook for LA, Ventura, and Orange County. We're warming toward Friday when all the coastal spots Friday are 80 plus, and that will be almost as warm as you'll find downtown and even in the valleys. And then we'll slowly cool down, and by the last 3 days of the 7-day outlook, we're going to be back to normal, low to mid 70s inland, mid and upper 60s at the beaches, and those clouds represent a return of the marine layer. Inland, the mountains will be in the 50s for a couple of days and then maybe up as warm as 60 on Friday and Saturday, but back down. And they're right at freezing overnight, so it's getting to be that time of year. Low desert in the 80s, and the valleys are warm toward Friday. That'll be their warmest day at 85 degrees as well. A beautiful day today.
It was.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Fritz. Tonight, a Palm Desert couple is speaking out about an incident at a local casino that left one of them in the hospital. As Channel 4's Mary Parks explains, they claim they were terrorized by a security guard.
Until a few weeks ago, Richard and Johnny Swan spent much of their free time playing slot machines at inland casinos. But the Air Force veteran and retired mortgage banker says he and his wife are done gambling after a bloody confrontation with security at one casino.
There's no excuse for the way they treated my husband. You know, he's a 70-year-old man.
The Swans say they were celebrating their anniversary at Pechanga Resort in Temecula when they had a disagreement with another casino patron over a slot machine. That's when they say security intervened and ordered them to leave.
They didn't give us reasons. They just said I had to leave.
Swan says he and his wife walked toward their hotel room to retrieve luggage when he was tackled from behind by security and handcuffed.
They slammed my face into the marble floor. Oh, that hurt. Blood was pouring out. I couldn't see out of my right eye. They were twisting and turning my arms. I kept screaming at them, please stop. I'm a 70-year-old man with a pacemaker. I could die. I'm going in and out of consciousness. Finally, they got me to my feet and they said, you will stand up and walk. I took one step and just passed out.
Swan was rushed by ambulance to a hospital. Because he takes the prescription blood thinner Coumadin, he feared a blood clot and had a CAT scan of his head. He still suffers a sprained wrist and a half-inch scar on his face.
Those men should be fired. They should be fired, and this kind of situation shouldn't be allowed.
In response, Amy Muneer, president of Pechanga Development Corporation, says Pechanga deeply regrets what happened, and after reviewing policies and procedures, the officer involved is no longer employed. Mary Parks, Channel 4 News.
One network's election coverage last night took on a real science fiction feel.
The CNN hologram, did you see it? Tonight, we know how they did it.
Dodgers made a big roster move. USC coach Pete Carroll talks about the BCS. And for the second time in a week, Lakers getting ready to play the Clippers. We'll have a preview in just a few minutes.
Then coming up new tonight on Channel 4 News at 11, will local names be part of Barack Obama's cabinet? Plus a sudden rush for Obama souvenirs. Also, a new and intimate reason to lose weight, how those extra pounds could, in fact, affect your love life. Those stories and all the late-breaking news after the season premiere of Law & Order on Southern California's local news leader, the #1 Channel 4 News at 11. It's time for Fred and some sports.
All right, Anna, Chuck, one team has yet to lose, the other has yet to win. And tonight, for the second time in a week, Lakers and Clippers face off against each other at Staples. Lakers won the first meeting by 38. They haven't played, though, since Saturday, and that is a bit of a concern.
The energy and anxiety that's created by game competition creates a certain speed that this game's played at that is real tough to duplicate in practice. We're trying real hard as a team to duplicate that in practice, so we have a daily consistency.
How about this? While Barack Obama made history in becoming the first African-American to be elected president, former Suns guard Kevin Johnson secured a similar victory, albeit on a much smaller stage. Johnson was elected mayor of Sacramento last night, the first black to accomplish that feat. And after last night's victory by Obama, many are hoping he stays true to what he said during halftime of Monday Night Football's NFL game, when he was asked the first thing he'd change in sports if he could.
I think it is about time that we had playoffs in college football. I'm fed up with these computer rankings and this and that and the other. Get 8 teams, top 8 teams right at the end. You got a playoff, decide on a national champion.
Amen, Mr. President-elect. That view shared by many, including USC coach Pete Carroll, who says the BCS stinks, especially after the Trojans dropped from 5th to 7th in the latest rankings, despite a 56-0 win over Washington on Saturday.
I don't know how the computer thing work. I don't get that part of it, and I don't know how the computer knows how good another team is. I don't understand that. I don't know how they can evaluate who you're playing and stuff and all that, but that's why I'm coaching football.
Trojans host 21st ranked Cal Saturday at the Coliseum. Baseball, Dodgers have declined the option on pitcher Brad Penny, making him an unrestricted free agent. Also, Greg Maddux won a record 18th Gold Glove Award, the future Hall of Famer pondering retirement after 355 career wins. On the ice, Kings and Ducks faced off last night at Staples, and unlike the presidential race, this contest came down to the very end. Scoreless at overtime, Chris Pronger pulled the trigger, and that was the winner. Ducks won it 1-0. They host St. Louis tonight. This Sunday on The Challenge, our big-name guest will be Dodger owner Frank McCourt. I sat down with him today and talked about finally winning a playoff series and the hopes for more to come.
I was so happy, in particular for the fans, because I know what they've been through for the last 20 years. And I think that this is just the beginning of hopefully a run here that, we'll be able to continue to get better. And the more we play in the postseason, the more experienced we'll be and the more prepared for it we'll be. I bet if you ask every one of our ball players, did they benefit from, that series with the Cubs, they would say, darn right they did.
We'll have more with Frank, including his thoughts on Manny Ramirez, Sunday night on The Challenge, right after NFL football. Chuck?
Thank you, Fred. Last night, the networks brought out their most advanced gee-whiz gadgets for election night, including what many today are calling the Princess Leia, as in Star Wars interview. Digital News Raw anchor McCullough Medina now answers the question, how did they do that?
As well. We're joined now via hologram.
It was something out of a sci-fi movie.
All this technology, I'm being beamed to you like it's Star Wars and stuff.
Yeah, it looks like basically exactly like in Star Trek when they would beam people down. That's what it looks like.
The cable news network used emerging technology, an army of high-definition cameras, and a green screen tent to beam in rapper and Obama supporter will.i.am from a loud Chicago park where Obama spoke to its New York studios.
We're doing this interview with you this way because it's a lot quieter than having you in that crowd.
And it was just plain cool. Millions of Yahoo users thought so too, immediately searching for CNN hologram and will.i.am online. not any of the candidates. They wanted to figure out exactly how the technology worked.
I know, it's like I follow in the tradition of Princess Leia.
The first successful attempt was earlier in the night when a reporter's image was beamed into the New York studios. She goes on to explain how it was done.
I'm inside a tent in Chicago that's been built. Engineers spent about 3 weeks doing it. There are 35 high-definition cameras ringing me in a ring around me. I'm in the center, and they shoot my body at different angles, and I'm told that transmits what looks like an entire body image back there to New York.
It's new technology born from sci-fi come true on election night. From Digital News Raw, I'm Mikhail Medina, Channel 4 News.
Oh my goodness.
Is that really you?
No,
or
it's
you
just
beamed
being,
up?
there are angles I would never want beamed of me. And there will be lots of presidential portraits and photographs of Barack Obama, but take a look at this one. Who needs a brush and canvas when you've got an Etch-a-Sketch?
Wow, that's a
Tim
good
George
one.
of Ohio made this image
good.
of the president-elect. George has Etch-a-Sketched every president,
Wow.
and those images are now on display at Ohio State House. Etch-a-Sketch, hologram.
There we
Two
go.
spectrums. And then there's your map. They're talking about it at CNN, your map and your clicker last night.
Sometimes low tech just works really well. Okay, that's it for us. Coming up next, Brian Williams at NBC Nightly News.
Good night, everyone.